Cheese. All right, guys, and welcome back to NBA Shorts. This is your host, Trey Daubert. Along with me, as always, co-host Jacob McCormick. We're going to talk about one thing today. Paul Pierce had a bit of an odd comment, interesting comment. He called it a hot take, where he said Zion Williamson is already, or as I should say, as Paul Pierce said, Zion Williams is already a top 50 player in the NBA. Jacob, is this a hot take? Is he already a top 50 player, or is he not close to a top 50 player right now?
Well, I definitely think Paul Pierce thinks it's a hot take, but it's not, in my opinion. It is. I think everybody, Zion is above and beyond the number one pick in the NBA draft. I think he's going to come in. I've seen multiple people talk about how much would Zion get paid in an open market contract coming in as a rookie, like it used to be in the league. And I think he'd get close. He'd get a max deal, whatever, like a lot of those max guys are getting, or some form of that. He'd get $25+ million a year, definitely in the NBA, and that's a top 50 player. I think it's funny the way Paul Pierce approached it, because it's like, you do realize that's the only thing people have been talking about for 4 or 5 months now, right? Zion Williamson being a star in the NBA next season. So that was pretty funny.
The way I thought of it was, would the Houston Rockets rather have Zion Williamson or Eric Gordon for their playoff push right now? Because that's about the 50th best player, right?
That's a good call. That's a good call out. That's a really good call out. I think you're right. I think they'd rather have Zion.
Exactly.
They have some other no hate to Eric Gordon. He's better than their other role players that they have, kind of rookies, those two-way guys. But if you put Zion on that team, as well as those two-way and young players that can hit open shots, that's a team that can get up and down.
To me,
he's a very. I don't even want to make the comparison, but he's a very rich man. He's like a Jeff Bezos rich man of version of Kenneth Faried.
This is one of those things where I'm a Celtics fan. I'll admit it. Mm-hmm. I loved Paul Pierce, the basketball player. I defended him when he went out on the wheelchair, even though it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. Can't stand him as a broadcaster. He's got to be one of the worst broadcasters I've ever listened to. This isn't anywhere close to a hot take. What's a hot take is, I think maybe he's a top 30 player. I think that's reasonable to say. And the other thing I thought about is, if we're really comparing Zion to the past draft classes, he might be the best pure draft prospect since Kevin Durant, and that's, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
When I was comparing Zion to what he could be, I thought, this is going back a while, but if you put Charles Barkley and Shaq and kind of molded them together and plopped them into today's NBA, that's what Zion is. Am I crazy? Is that weird?
No, I don't think you're crazy at all. I think he's definitely and it's weird too, because the last times we've had these prospects like this, they've been kind of called out a few seasons before in their high school career. And while Zion was an internet legend with his dunks, everybody kind of just said, oh, he's going to be an NBA player. He's going to be a really good NBA player, but he's not going to be the number one pick. He's not going to be LeBron level. He's not going to be Kevin Durant level. He's not going to be that level of player because he's just a super athletic freak. We've seen it too many times. But now this season at Duke has been really eye-opening to the entire game that he has. So I think that is the difference, is that he wasn't necessarily called out as this unicorn ahead of time.
The difference to me is, he's making massive leaps month after month after month, and he's shooting 70% from the floor. You could drop in a middling NBA player. They're not shooting 70% in college. That's insane.
That's crazy. Right. No, and I was trying to find the numbers here too, and I know that points per game is not the end all be all. By far, that's not a top 50 player just because you're top 50 in points per game does not mean you're top 50 in the league. But I thought it would be interesting to look at the top 50 points per game players in the league this year. And like down at number 50, you have JJ Redick and Andrew Wiggins and Bojan Bogdanovic. He's better than those players. Like,
absolutely.
Like, and he's going to, in my opinion, he's going to be probably a 20-point per game scorer in his rookie season, just because of the fact of how high a percentage he shoots around the rim and going to get to the free throw line. So I think he's going to easily, put points on the board. There's multiple rookies in this thing anyway, so I think he's going to easily get up into the top 50 there.
All right, guys, and that'll do it for this episode of NBA Shorts. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, check out the website for more updates, vendettasportsmedia.com, and we'll see you next time.
Cheese.